All right, hello once again, Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College. And I've been going through an iterative process of building a payroll application and trying to incorporate as much stuff as possible from our textbook. And I'm in Chapter 4, and I'm coming in here doing what I have been doing, and I'm going to make 4B. All right, so I've got that. As always, coming in here, right mouse clicking on our source folder, new Java class, edu.rankin.jpscott.payroll with a big P. All right, I'm going to remove this. I have copied my last program. Oh, I thought I did. Okay, so I've got my last program right here. There, it's copied. And now it's in. So now it's the same exact program that I had before. But I'm going to put a couple more things in here. Now, eventually, we're going to get to the point where we have an array of employee objects. But for now, I'm going to come in and I'm going to add another constant in here. All right, and I'll just put it down here. Private, static, final, int. We'll call it tot_emps for total employees. And we're going to set that equal to 5. That's an arbitrary value that I made up. So, total number of employees. All right, now, a couple things. I was thinking about this before. First of all, why are these private? Because they're declared outside of any method. So I think they become private by default, but I'm not taking any chances. So these can only be used inside of this particular application. All right? Static. Why static? Because they're being used directly in main or by something that's in main. And I think if we left static out, we'd get an error. Final. Why final? Because if you're going to create a constant in Java, constants have to have the word final in there. Then the type, then the name of the constant, equal, and then the value. All right, now hopefully all of that made sense. It wasn't, too much for anybody to understand, etc. All right, so that's the first thing. Second thing, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to what I want to do is I want to be able to work with Java input outputs because I'm going to work with files. So I'm going to import here java.io.star. All right. And I'm going to put in here for IO file handling. Now, again, I could leave it out and start putting stuff in where the system would throw it in for me, but I don't want to do that. All right. So I'm going to come down here, and now this is going to be something new in here because in main, I'm going to have here throws file not found exception. All right, that's a first. What we're doing is we're letting the system know if we have a problem, we may have some kind of a problem with file not found. So let's look that up. Java, file not found exception. All right. It says this exception will be thrown by the file input or output stream when a file with a specified path name does not exist. All right, so if we have a screw up, for lack of better words. All right, now this stuff is all good here, but I have to come in and I have to add a new variable in here. All right, and I can put it down here, that's fine, but I'm going to create what's called a new print writer. And that's going to be from my output file object. All right, so print writer, notice it sees this, and it's okay with that because of what we put up here earlier. All right, so print writer, you can call this whatever you want. I'm just going to call it output file, kind of call it what it is. Equal new print writer, and I'm hoping it's going to end up writing it in here, and I'm going to call this payroll.text. All right. The other thing that I want to do is, now that I'm looking at this, it's not that these are wrong, so to speak, but I want to do this 5 times, and the way it's set up, I cannot do it 5 times. So I'm going to have to make some modifications here. All right. And how am I going to do this? Well, probably the easiest way would be for me to copy this. And then I'm going to end up creating a for loop for int LCV, remember I use LCV for loop control variable, equal 0, LCV less than tote emps, so less than 5, oops, plus plus LCV. In other words, I want to do this 5 times. Now I'm going to paste that in. I'm going to get a bunch of errors, and I'm not worried about it. I'm going to fix those literally in a matter of seconds. All right, I just need to take these off. So what's different here is I'm saying I want to do this 5 times. So now these are wrong. I want to now set this back to what it was before. Empty string, empty string, empty string, 0, false. Again, you could make it true if you want to. 0, 0.0, 0.0, and 0.0. All right, so those have all been reset. Now I'm telling main to call this 5 times. That is what I want to do. All right, that literally is what I want to do. All right. Now, all this stuff should be good, but I'm going to make a change in the way down in here. I still want to be able to show my stuff on the screen, but now up here, rather than writing it there, and I guess I still can, I also want to display my final totals, but I want to display them in my output file as well. All right, so I'm going to grab everything that I have here, and I'm going to copy everything, even the comment. That's okay. So that's everything again. Now this will say write out everything to file. using, instead of system.out.println, this will be output file.println. And I'm getting an error, but I think I'll be able to fix that momentarily. In fact, I know what that error is. The error is where I've defined output file was up in main. And I'm not using it in main. So I can either make it global, which is what I'm going to do, or I could define it way down at the bottom. But I'm going to make it global just in case it ends up that I want to use it someplace else. Private, static, all right, output file, and X. Okay, and then I'm going to initialize it down here in this routine. Those are my patterns. Output file equal new print writer. And so this possibly throws file not found exception. Okay. Now, I don't know if I missed anything or not, but I could have. There's one more thing I was thinking about that I kind of like to add in here. Since I am going through 5 employees, well, let's make a thing in here that's called tote gross pay. We'll again set that equal to 0.0. And as we figure out the total gross pay, which was in our gross pay function in here, all right, so now we've got it, but now I can say tote so I'm going to need hours worked, I'm going to need hourly work rate, and I'm going to need tote gross pay. All right, I'm going to need all of those. And then down here, where I'm doing the gross pay, double total gross pay. That should have gotten rid of the error that I had up above. And it did. Okay. So here's calculating the total gross pay, but I want to come in here now and say total gross pay plus equals gross pay. This is going to allow me to keep adding. All right, that's going to allow me to keep adding my totals. All right, so I'm doing this every time. Finally, I'm going to write one new method, so that's display all. And I'm going to put here display final. And I want to pass here tote gross pay. All right, I'm getting that error because I have not yet written display final, but I will in just a moment. Let's go way down to the bottom here. Static void. All right. And again, I can call it total gross pay. And all I'm going to put in here is, again, I think I'll do it 3 times like I've been doing it. I don't want to do that. I'll just do it. I'll do it like this. So that's the total gross pay. Now that I see this, I shouldn't be doing it like that anymore. I should be using my pattern. Right. And since I'm going to be using this pattern twice, I'm now going to take this and make it global. So let me come up here where I've got the rest of my variables. That. Now that should have fixed everything. Did it? I'm not sure. Why do I have that there? These now have to be private static because they're global variables. Hopefully that removed all those errors that I had in there, anything that was red. I'm looking very quickly, see if anything is red, and I don't see anything. Okay. For all since this is now global, this is, okay, I've got to make some changes here. Hours worked. Hourly rate. Pay, which means that I can now get rid of that $sign. That fixed that. All right, I'm wordsmithing for lack of better words right now. And my hope is when I get done with this, and then I'll run it, and then we'll take a look at it, it should go through this 5 times. All right? And then I should get a total payroll when I'm all finished. So let's do a file, save all, run. This is the first time we've actually run this iteration of it. All right, so I'll do everybody in my family. Jeffrey, Paul, Scott, 61. I'll make it true. I'll be number 1. 40, 25. That looks good. Here's employee 2. And I'll make that my wife, Sandy. Oops. Well, so you say Eddie Scott. No, that's fine. Make that false. Should be number 2. She worked 50 hours at $10 an hour. She got overtime. That's good. I notice I'm not clearing my thing, so that's going to have to be fixed. Taylor. See, I've got everybody. It just keeps appending here, so I've got to clear that out, but that's not a problem. So there's Taylor. There's total gross pay for all employees. If it's doing that every time, so I've got to fix that. All right. Like I said, I'm just going through it to see what it is I have to fix here. So this should be the 4th one. And let's say 60, it's 60. All right. So I want to go back to this. Now my total gross pay, well, it's still wrong, but that's okay. There's gross pay. That's good. And I'm printing that out every time. So I've got to think about what I want to change here. All right, first thing that I want to change is when I come into this routine to print everything out, which is in here, all right? Every time through here, I'm going to set the output string equal to the empty string. That'll make sure I'm starting fresh, so to speak, every time, which is what I'd want to do. All right, so that'll fix that. This is a little ugly, so I'm going to make sure that I clean that up. So after I do the gross pay, let's do a system.out.println \n/n, so that I've got a couple blank spaces between each employee. And looky here, I've got output. No, I don't. Well, that's where the output was supposed to be. I'll have to check on that also. All right, but this is coming together very well right now. I'm not mad at all. I'm happy. Now, I do want to mention that things like break and continue, etc., some of that stuff, random numbers, we'll get to that in other programs, either other iterations of this program or in other programs. But I've looked at now the while and the do while, and this was the 4 that I just added. I've got a running total. That's my total gross pay. There's a little bit of stuff in here on exceptions, but we're going to get to that when we get to about chapter 11 or so. I'm only reading data from a file. I'm sorry, I'm only writing data to a file. I'm not reading from a file. All right? So, just so you hear that. All righty. Let's get back to here. Try to see if I can figure out why nothing is writing. Output file, print line. Again, I want to put in between each record once I hopefully get this to work. Okay, so that's a blank. There I'm adding to my total gross pay, but I'm not returning it. That's the problem here. So my total gross pay is going to have to be a global variable, or else I'll have to do some jacking around with it, which I don't feel like doing right now. So I'm going to grab this variable here, and I'm going to bring it up here, put it in there as a private static double. Okay. Again, it's coming together. So this is saying this total gross pay for all employees. I don't want that. This should be being fixed now. This all worked, except it's giving me that line where I don't want that line to be there. Which says to me that that line that must be inside of my if statement. Yep, that display final has to be outside of the loop. There. All right, let's just take a look at what we have right now. There may still be errors in here, but I'm going to look at it and see if it should be much improved from the way it just was. All right, save all. Still might not be getting anything to my file, but we're going to look at that right now. So, run payroll. All right, first name, Jeffrey. Middle name, Paul. Last name, Scott. Age, 61. Union status, false. Employee number, 1. Hours worked, 40. Hourly rate, 25. All right, it says I'm at 1,000. That's good. It's got me here, Jeffrey Paul Scott. That's everything I entered in. All right, so now I'm up to well, I guess I'm going to have to do it like this for now, at least. Get rid of that. I am taping. All right, so Sandra K. Scott. We'll make her union status true. Her employee number will be 2. The hours worked will be 50. The hourly rate will be 50. I can see she's got overtime. That's good. Let's go back and double check that on here. So there she is. Okay, that's good. So far, everything's looking good. Taylor. Please enter the hours worked. Say 60 and 60. I can tell already that it's figuring out everything the way that it should. That's always a good sign. Whoops, don't want that. I want this. There was Taylor. That's real good. Looking very good so far. Notice it's not printing my final total because I did not put that inside of the loop. I goofed up on that, but that's no big thing. So let's look. Don't want that. I do want this. All right. Total gross pay for all 5 employees, that's still wrong. All right. My payroll, there's nothing in there. So that's not good. But everybody's getting figured out correctly as far as I can tell. 25 times. Okay. Those are all okay. So what's left? I got to figure out my total gross pay because it's wrong. And we have to figure out the total gross pay, and we have to figure out why it's not writing to the file. All right? So let's do them in that order. So for gross pay, we're passing in total gross pay. We don't have to pass that in anymore because that is a global variable. So I can get rid of it there. And I can get rid of it here. So this will now have to be total gross pay. Is that what it was called, or was it tote? Tote gross pay. All right, that should fix that. All right, let's clear this and try it. There's one more thing I wanted to do here, and that was in here. I think I only need one of these here. So let's run this. I'm just going to quickly run it 5 times. So File, Save All, Run, Run. Okay, there's all the stuff for me. Jeff Paul Scott. Looks good. There's Sandy. Okay, that looks good. There is Taylor. That looks good. That looks good. And finally, yeah. All right. And finally, there's Chloe. Total gross pay. I'd have to add these, but let's see. 1,069.50. 11,150 if I'm counting right. 12,650. 13,875. Yep, that's all correct. Okay, I'm not printing that out in the correct format, but I can fix that. All right. And I'll bet you I still don't have anything printing in my payroll file. I don't. So we'll have to look at that. But that is not bad. And we are at 35 minutes. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to do something I don't normally do, and that is I'm going to pause this while I see if I can figure out that problem and then come back and finish this up. All right, I'm not sure if I fixed this or not, but I am going to try, and let me tell you what I think the problem was before I run the program. First, I fixed this, so these will all format correctly now. All right, and secondly, I was creating at the bottom of my program, in my display all, that's where I was creating the file object. I think I might have been overwriting it every time, so I moved that up so that I'm creating it right there. Now we'll see if that fixes it, makes it better, makes it worse, or does nothing. All right, let me do this. I'm gonna lift that up quite a bit there. All right, so run, let's file, save all, run. All right, Jeffrey, Paul, Scott, 61, false, 1, 40, 25. That all looks good there. That all looks perfect right here. That's what I'm looking for. Sandra, K, Scott, we'll say true to 50. It looks good. Taylor, I notice there's some mistakes. It says please enter hours worked. I guess that's okay. But it says hourly rat, so I'm going to have to fix that. This is all looking very good. That's nicer. I've got to get rid of that dollar sign, but that's no biggie. So now the big one. Still not showing me anything here. Well, and that is making me wonder, either I did do something wrong, which is quite possible, or it's there, but it's kind of hidden for lack of better words. So that would be in here. Let's look. Nope, nothing is being written, it looks like. So I will have to fix that. Just trying to look to make sure I don't have that file someplace else by some weird circumstance. It's telling me it's size 0, so star.txt. Yep, that's it, with 0 bytes. So there's something wrong there. So let's quickly down to the bottom here. I don't need these dollar signs anymore now. That'll fix that. Where I'm asking for the, there it is, that should be rate. Okay, so that fixed that. So let's look and see if I can figure out why I'm not writing this. looks like it should be working. So they should be writing it out to the file, payroll, to file, payroll.txt, using output file.println, which I think was right. I got an error if it wasn't. What file? There's new print writer. And I declared it to be global, so there should be no problem with that. Man, oh man. I did not close the file when I was done, but I don't know why that would be any kind of problem. Display final, total gross pay, and that was the last one. That was out here. Because if you don't close a file, it should be closed for you automatically. So, output file dot close. Now, I shouldn't have to be doing something special. I'm just looking through. I'm rewriting this on the fly, but I've got something I used in the past. Let's see. So this is display all, output string, yeah, that, and that. Boy, I'm trying to figure out why that wouldn't be writing to my output file. Well, again, I'm going to stop right now because I'm way over. So I'm stopping right now, and I'll see if I can figure out that problem and get back to you as soon as I can.